For our panel, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. You're welcome to the first of our four panels. Hello, ma'am, sir. I hope they can hear me. You're welcome to the first of our four panels titled Journey Through Time, Women in the Nigerian Film Industries. The reason why we convened this stream, that is, my colleague is a play of University of Nigeria, Elizabeth Olaibola of the University of Abuja, and myself, Angelica Adina of Panama University, Lagos. Came together to convene this stream because we realized that women were doing a lot of work in the Nigerian film industry, and the research on their activities was not keeping up with the pace of their efforts. And so we thought that it was necessary for us to start to track and document what's happening with the dates of women's work in order not to allow this to be eroded by time and by other interests. When you look at the scholarship of knowledge, you find that women are spoken about intermittently, if I may use that expression, right? But we believe that given the contributions of women right from the inception of the film industry, that's the contemporary film industry from 1922, and the Nigerian film industry from the 1970s, it's become very urgent that we have sense to document what women have done through the various lenses and phases. So that's why we have this panel. So thank you so much for giving it your time and attention. For today's panel, it is titled Representations of Women in Non-Women Family. And we will have 4 presentations. Ideally, 2 people will present here in person and 2 will present online as well. We thank those who have already joined us. Hello, those online, welcome. We see you, we know that you are there. The first presenter, we'd like to get right into it so that everyone has enough time. And by enough time, I mean 15 minutes. Please do be on time. 15 minutes to present your work. We'll allow all presentations to go first before we open up the discussion. And that's what wants all presenters to have an equal amount of time and not feel that their work has not been engaged with satisfactorily. So please do bear with us. The first presenter is Joseph Ali Dawe from Bayero University. Joseph, are you here with us now? Is he online? Not yet. I don't see him online, so I would like to call on our second speaker while Joseph still tries to join us. The second presentation for today will be given by Professor Asabe Usman, and she'll be talking about the changing portrayal of women in Kannywood films, excerpts from selected episodes of Mayan Mata, Women of Substance. Professor Asabe from Usman Danfodio University. The floor is now yours.
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. Please, can I share my screen?
Thank you.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, can you all see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm talking on the changing portrayals of women in Kannywood films, and I'm taking examples from selected episodes of the movie series, the film series Maya Mata. I have the abstract there, which everyone must have seen, and based upon that, this paper was approved, my participation was approved. So I have the introduction, the objectives, methodology, conceptual framework, literature appraisal, brief overview of Kannywood film industry, the portrayal of women in early Kannywood films, the emergence of films like Maya Mata, overview of the film Maya Mata, why we have the changing portrayals, emerging portrayals in Mayan Mata, and then I looked at key episodes. But I looked at the audience reception of the selected episodes I have chosen, the conclusion, and then the work cited. So by way of introduction, I looked at the Hausa society, which is patriarchal in nature, and women who dared to speak out were normally labeled as wayward and uncultured or un-Islamic because Islam is the predominant religion in Hausa society. But we all still had women who were advocates towards gender equity, political participation, and educational empowerment. And though their advocacy was hindered by deeply rooted patriarchal structures like cultural norms and others, we still had these advocates. We have Hajia Gambo Sawaba, who was a fearless activist and politician who campaigned for women emancipation. We had Hajia Leila Dogonyaro, a social worker and politician who championed the cause of women's empowerment. We had Hajia Balkisu Yusuf, a journalist, editor, and Islamic scholar. And then we had Hajia Saudatu Mahadi, to mention just a few. They advocated for emancipation of the women, education of women and others, but they were sanctioned during their time. For example, Hajia Gambo Sawaba was arrested and imprisoned several times. Hajia Leila Dogonyaro had to face opposition from patriarchal political structures and party segregation. Hajia Balkisu Yusuf, who was at one time the Amira of Form 1, that's Federation of Muslim Women in Nigeria, and Hajia Saudatu Mahadi, had to key in a lot of Islamic concepts within the religious terrain so that they could express their advocacy and be accepted without a sanction. But despite these hindrances, Hausa women advocates still have continued to find creative and cultural sensitivities, and they have found sensitive ways to push for change. And these efforts have laid the foundation for younger generations of women to take on advocacy roles and increasing confidence and acceptance. So the aim of the paper is to explore how the changing filmic portrayals of women characters have evolved from secondary roles in Hausa films to complex and capable agents of developmental change. And I'm going to take a critical analysis of selected episodes of seasons 1 and 2 of Mayan Mata, which has been translated to mean women of substance. And the paper seeks to understand how women...
I can speak English. Professor Asabe, we can't hear you. Can you speak up, please? Because we've increased our volume here.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the paper seeks to understand how women are portrayed and what these portrayals reveal about broader cultural changes. So for the methodology, I employ the qualitative content analysis using textual and visual exploration of the selected episodes of seasons 1 and 2 of Mayan Mata, and the selections were based on the popularity of the series, thematic richness, focus on gender relations, diversity of female representation. And then we had the narrative complexity. Episodes were viewed multiple times to identify recurring themes of gender relations, identify the protagonist's female character or characters and their roles in the development of the text of the film. And in translating the selected episodes into the English language, we used the contextual method of translation. And I've given the reason why I used the contextual method of translation. For conceptual framework, I used the broader feminist theory, but I narrowed it down to the African feminist theory, which a lot of scholars have looked into, and I still narrowed it down to the theory of nego-feminism, which is the theory of the feminist theory of feminism, of negotiation, no ego. And this theory actually, the stand articulates women empowerment in communal values and religious ethics that reflect the principles of Islamic feminism. And this way, because Hausa society is predominantly Islam, I brought in the Islamic concept of Islamic feminism into it. And so I analyzed the action of Layla, the protagonist female character in Maya Mata, as representing a culturally embedded articulation of feminist ideology that draws from Islamic principles, African feminist framework, and everyday act of resistance to establish the changing portrayals of women in Kannywood. So by way of literature appraisal, I looked at the representation of women in different films, and I looked at different people who have looked at it. And interestingly, though many of these works are similar to the paper now, but we have not really seen changing portrayals of women in Maya Mata, and especially in the episodes that I have chosen. Then I had a brief overview of Kannywood, which was established in 1980, and its affairs were rooted in Hausa literature, Indian Hollywood influences, and Islamic values, and the film gained prominence over the years. And the first successful Hausa language video film was Turmi Enya, which was aired in 1990, and then films became a powerful tool for cultural reflection and social education. And with the growth of Kannywood, filmmakers were able to have associations, and then we had censor boards in 2001 in Kano, which tried to censor the films and other things. So Kannywood films are grounded in narrative, culturally familiar frameworks, and Kannywood contributes to Northern Nigerian identity that's both locally rooted and globally relevant. So I looked at the portrayal of women in early Kannywood films, where they were depicted or portrayed as wicked, as destructive, competitive, very negative roles given to these women. And then overall, the submissive women were the ones who were largely portrayed, ones who are known traditionally as ideal Hausa women and who remained subordinate to their men. Then with time and as the movie industry evolved, we had the emergence of films, progressive films, contemporary films that talked about the issue of women as agents of change. And then we have different films with the presence of people like Hadiza Gabon, Rahama Sadau, Nafisa Abdullahi, Fatiwash, and others. We had films that portrayed women as playing positive roles. And I gave examples of such films, Mata Aure, Sarauniya, Balkisu, Daga Allah, and so on, and so many films. Then we went on. So I tried to look at why we had the changing portrayal. It is important for people to know that Kannywood is dominated by males due to cultural and social, due to socio-cultural perspectives of the people and other things. So the contribution, the changing portrayals from my research came about from the contributions of male stakeholders, the producers and directors who determine which stories get funded. And so they were able to bring about films like Maya Mata and others so that they can see the light of day. We have the male screenwriters who also shape complex and multidimensional female protagonists. We have male actors also who are willing to bring in female actors into their midst to help to bring up about a narrative equitability. And then the mutual respect on screen reinforced the legitimacy of active female characters. Then we have male mentors. The male mentors were able to bring in female writers, female actors, and others who brought about this changing portrayals. So, and then finally, we have the film financiers. Because even if you have a film, you have a very good film. If you don't have anyone who is going to finance these films, you'll be at a loss. So their decisions influence what kind of characters, audience, and the audience face. So these stakeholders put together crafted Maya Mata, the case study of this book. So I have this paper. So overview of the film series Maya Mata. It began in 2023, and so far we have had, it was officially premiered on February 4th, 2023, and then we started watching it every Saturday at 9 p.m. It portrays strong female characters who often challenge traditional gender roles while at the same time exploring themes such as education, empowerment, marriage, domestic issues, and societal exploitation. So far, 3 seasons of 13 episodes each have been aired. And the first season is expected sometimes, I think, around the 26th or 27th of June 2025. So it revolves around the advocacy and humanitarian activities of Laila, who uses her NGO, which she calls Maya Mata, to identify and proffer solutions to the multitude of social problems that bedevil the patriarchal Hausa society. So the storyline showcases that women can really be agents of positive change in a society which still believes that women should remain secluded. So though Maya Mata stands out for its portrayal of different female characters, Laila, the protagonist, stands out as our focus. Laila exemplifies feminist trajectory, and the paper would therefore concentrate on the character of Laila, who is portrayed first as very well educated. She's portrayed as someone who has a master's degree. Secondly, she's a reformer. In fact, her ideology is seen in the lyrics of Maya Mata, which says, women of substance work to bring reforms. Women of substance strive to bring succor to the society. Women of substance are warriors among other women. And then we see her as an advocate of change. She uses her stance and outlook to bring about change. And that was why when her fiancé brought out issues about her participation in Maya Mata, she said, my mission for Maya Mata as an NGO is enlightenment, justifying to the world the roles and dignity of women in society. I hope to see the day women will be free from subjugation, segregation, and undesirable cultural practices that harm and drive them into drug addiction and prostitution. And so she was depicted as an upright leader in different scenes. She was the voice for the less privileged. She was a humanitarian and a good politician. So I brought about I tried to look at key episodes where her advocacy talked. There were episodes where patriarchy was discussed, how she discussed patriarchy, the issue of forced marriage, where an example of Karima's first marriage to a man who was as old enough to be her father, who had 3 wives and 30 children. There was this advocacy against political thuggery. And
excuse me. You have 2 minutes more, please. You have 2 minutes more. Thank you.
I'll quickly round up. Then she talked about domestic and gender-based violence, drug abuse. There were different episodes that talked about it, rape, limited economic opportunities for females, gender discrimination, prostitution, cruel patriarchal orders like Almajiranchi, and then how did she do it? Laila uses religious teachings in her advocacy. This way, she's presented as a model of the educated, morally upright, and socially engaged Muslim woman. Her character challenges the dominant perception that feminism is anti-ethical to Islam, thereby contributing to the growing body of works that articulate feminism. So I looked at the audience perception, and I've looked at the episodes that I have chosen. Season 1, episode 1, there were 756,901 views. I just went through all the episodes to see the audience perception on all these views. So we have seen that the rise of Kannywood reflects a complex interplay of historical development. It has established itself not only in Nigeria, but outside the country. And then, as I said earlier, initially female characters were often relegated, but today female characters have them. So the film Maria Mata no doubt looks at the plight of not only children. And so we believe, we conclude that as Kannywood continues to diversify, characters like Laila and other representation of women are not as passive recipient of change, but as agent of transformation. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Asabe, for that interesting start to our panel on the representation of female. The change in portrayal of women in Kannywood films, except from selected episodes of Mayan Mata. I'm sure there are questions for you, and we will take them at the end of all the presentations. Thank you very much. Joseph has now joined us, and so we will give him the floor. He will be speaking on the topic, the representations of females in the Nigerian film industry, exploring Biodu Stevens and Prince Daniel films. Joseph from Bayero University. The floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I'll go straight ahead. My topic is the representation of females in the Nigerian film industry, exploring Jordan Steven and Prince Daniel films.
Can you speak louder, please? Can you speak louder?
All right, okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right, we'll look at the introduction, the changing narratives, and then why the selection of Jordan Steven and Prince Daniel, methodology, conceptual and theoretical frameworks. Then we look at the films, and then we look at the directors and their works, and then our findings and conclusions. As a way of introduction, we would say that how females are portrayed in Nollywood has journeyed through time, from when there were no female directors at all to when now we have female directors who are producing films. And this is similar to the late arrival of female authors and playwrights in literature and drama. And it is known and given that patriarchy has over time determined and shaped human life. Therefore, narratives in Nollywood have depictions that are patriarchal. So, and female directors have come to the scene to probably, amongst many things, change this narrative. And then we have male directors also who are taking a cue to do this positive narrative about females and the condition of the females as represented in films. Now, existing studies on the representation of females in Nollywood has over time concluded that female characters are stereotyped as witches, the wicked stepmother, the bitter co-wives, commercial sex workers, gold diggers, and so many other negative colorations. These are what we call patriarchal mechanisms, and they can be found in many things. In fact, existing literature on representation of females actually have done a lot in this aspect. So the emergence of female directors, as mentioned earlier, and especially in the work of Oyeyemi 2021, has indicated that the emergence of this field in this aspect. Are you with me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. These changing narratives found as a result of the emergence of female directors, the rise of feminism, and then we cannot forget the intragender schisms that is found amongst females, because the idea is that over time, the problems that women face is hanged on patriarchy, but there are also collaborations by females who make patriarchy work. And because of this paper is hinged on two scholarly positions. One, Uto Eziaju 2023 clearly states that unfriendly and unsupportive actions carried out by women against fellow women, which directly oppose women's collective and individual struggles for freedom, identity, and self-assertion. It describes women's reluctance or refusal to shield fellow women from abuse and the deliberate actions of women to force fellow women to submit to established oppressive patriarchal structures. And secondly, Idegu 2009 submits that a situation where almost all the problems that befall the woman and will befall her in the future are put squarely on the man, and patriarchy leaves a lot of leaking roofs in the habitation of feminism and other isms. So As a methodology, this work is qualitative, is textual analysis and documentary observation. For the theoretical framework for the analysis of the selected films, we're looking at the radical aspect of feminism. In fact, precisely Kate Millet's coinage of the term sisterhood, which signifies union amongst women as an aspect of and emphasizing especially solidarity, empathy, and support, then collaboration over competition, that is amongst women, and then accountability and growth. And then secondly, an aspect of radical feminism which have been deployed in this paper is challenging objectification, challenging stereotypes, and then representation and visibility. Why the choice of Bjorn Steven? Bjorn Steven is a female director. She has several films to her credit. Big Love, Sister, All Shades Wrong, Tiwa's Baggage, Breaded Life, The White Flower. Interesting aspect of Bjorn Steven's films.
Excuse me, Joseph. I thought you, sorry to interrupt you, but
yes?
I thought you wanted to share some slides with us. We can't see any slides. We just see you.
Oh, I thought I am sharing.
No.
Oh, okay.
And because the audio
We can,
isn't so
we
loud.
can see it online anyway.
No, we can't see it here. Sorry.
Is it, can you see it now?
No, we can't.
I can see his slides.
Those of us online can see. We are seeing his slides.
Okay.
Maybe stop sharing and then start over. Start sharing.
Did you minimize his slides?
Ah,
I'm so sorry about that, everyone.
Can you see my slides now?
It's coming up. Yes, we can. Can you put in presentation mode, please? He can. Joseph, can you put in presentation mode, please?
Okay.
All right, you can continue. Please continue.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Can you see my slides now?
Yes, we can. Please carry on.
All right. Okay, so I stopped where I was talking about why the selection of Bjorn Steven is important to this presentation. The point is that she has several themes, and majority of her main characters are females, and she has minimal male characters in most of her films. And then for Prince Daniel is interestingly Kannywood, and Kannywood is known to be the Hausa Muslim pop films. But number one, Prince Daniel is not Hausa, he's not Muslim, but he produces films that reflect the Hausa Muslim culture. And then again, his 2023-24 film, My Martaba, is Nigeria's 2025 Oscars official submission. Okay, so let's look at the film precisely. Sister. Sister was released in 2022, and it tells the story of Sister, who independently took care of two of her kids without the father, and eventually the father showed up, but with a wife. Now, in traditional portrayal of women in Nollywood, what happens in such a situation is that the two wives, the two women, now fight themselves. Instead, what we see in Sister is a collaboration between the two wives, or the two women now, who have a history with one man or one husband, as the case might be. They collaborated, they supported each other, and they overcame the challenges. We have a different situation in Big Love by the same Jordan Steven. It's actually a love story between Adil and Adina. And it seems the main bulk of the work of the film rather, is the idea of single motherhood. Now, in traditional portrayal of women, you find that this idea of single motherhood is frowned at. But in Big Love, we see that the mother of Adil supported the single mother who their son wanted to marry. And initially they fought against it, they didn't want it, but eventually they developed the spirit of sisterhood and they helped the young lady to be the wife of their son. Very quickly, we jump to Kannywood. In Kannywood, our first film is Kaka. Kaka tells the story of a young northern Nigerian a girl growing up in a rural agrarian village. But with the help now of her teacher, she's able to overcome early marriage and dropping out of school. She succeeded, went to school, graduated, became a doctor, and helped in participated rather in challenging the objectification of women in film. Now, what we see in Prince Daniel's film is the challenging objectification and changing the stereotypes. We see his own presentation, even though he's a male, he presents women in northern Nigeria as being strong, supporting themselves, and bringing positive change. And his second film is the film we are looking at is My Martaba. My Martaba tells the story of a kingdom where the dying emir, as against tradition, nominates his daughter as his heir apparent. And that caused a lot of trouble in the kingdom. But eventually, with the help of other women, female characters in the film, they were able to come together, form the sisterhood, and participate in uplifting other women in the society and leading the kingdom in wars and other economic and political troubles. As a way of conclusion, we can say that both Nollywood and Kannywood, in spite of the differences, because it's important to mention that Kannywood claims not to be Nollywood, in the sense that while Nollywood is Western, Christian mostly, Kannywood is predominantly Arabian, Muslim, and Hausa culture. So based on this, Kannywood scholars argue that Kannywood is not Nollywood. But the point of convergence now is that we are seeing that both Nollywood and Kannywood now depict new strong female characters as against the traditional depiction of women as just co-wives and objects of domination and control by men. And these new female characters' strength is not in collaboration with the men, but is in collaboration with themselves. And that the problems that females face are not entirely patriarchal.
Thank
There are
you.
problems that are caused, just a second, there are problems that women could participate in, but in the film, we're able to see how women refuse to participate in their subjugation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joseph, for that presentation on exploring Biodo Stevens and Prince Daniel films. Our next speaker is Dr. Toyin Salami. She'll be speaking about or on the topic analyzing the representation of women in Kunle Afolayan's films. Thank you, Dr. Salami. I hope you don't mind facing us. You can sit if you like. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Profs. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Oluwatoyin Shakira Salami. Please let me first apologize for my voice. I have problem with it from yesterday. My name is Oluwatoyin Shakira Salami. I'm from Crescent University, Abuja. And my topic analyzes the representation of women in Kule Afolayan's film. And background. To give a background, yeah, the first time. Also, sorry, the second. This is the title. Yes, we all know the importance. Well, it is assumed because various studies have actually been conducted on the representation of women in films because we know the importance of film in education, information, and the rest, and the impact of films on the society, especially on perception of the way people are being represented in films. And I want to talk about the role of the importance of representation in film, film's influence on the society. It is believed that films shapes attention and attitudes towards women in the society. According to Gina Davis, if you want to see more women in leadership positions, then girls actually need to see themselves on, they need to see women in leadership, taking leadership roles in entertainment world. That is in the film, that means women have to be portrayed as being leaders because it is what they watch that the way the society perceives the women, the way the society reacts to women is actually based on the way it's highly based on the way that they see men being portrayed in the film. And this is why this is very important to see, because we all know that traditionally, when we look at our historically, when we look at, especially when we talk of Nollywood, even before the Nollywood, women are always portrayed in the traditional norms, the way women were viewed to be, as in the patriotic ways of portraying women. And women are known to be caring, yes, but at the same time submissive, and at the same time always victims and of the societal ills. So this particular study actually has two main objectives, set out to achieve two main objectives. The first objective is to examine how women were portrayed, how Lion portrayed women in his films. While the second objective is to now look at those representation of women in Lion films and to see whether this representation actually supports the traditional stereotype or challenges. Those are the two objectives that this study actually set out. And the study adopted feminist theory, the feminist theory to actually analyze. Thank you. It was adopted to analyze the representation of women in the selected fields. And methodology, the study adopted qualitative research design by combining both content analysis and textual analysis to actually read the way women are presented in Kule Afolayan's film. And the study also adopted purposeful sampling technique in picking those films, the 5 selected films. Number 1, the most recent Kings of Afolayan, which happens to be this 5, that is the Citation, Swan, Niger Christmas, Ijogo, and Anikulapo. These are what, as of today, these are the most recent 5 films of, and also the fact that these 5 cut across different genres. When you talk of social drama, comedy, historical fantasy, and all this reflects the diverse gender portrayals of women. And then the female characters in all these films were used as the unit of analysis, while their coding sheet was developed with the team, identify things like vulnerability, resistance, motherhood, caring roles, leadership, and so on, to actually read the women how women are represented in Kule Afolayan's film. So the quantitative analysis, quantitative content analysis was adopted using this to look at this various empowerment, victimhood, leadership, and vulnerability. While the textual analysis, we look at the dialogue, the body language, the interactions and interpretations of the different meanings and cultural subtext in the film. Then the findings is that in providing answers to research questions, the first research question, that is the first study objective, that how are women, including Apollions, in these findings, how are they represented? When we look at to look at citation, because the films use like citation, Swallow, Niger Christmas, Jogbon, and Nikolako. In citation, Moremi Oluwa happens to be the major character in the citation, and citation actually it reflects empowerment, leadership of the female character, major female character, who actually took up the fight to fight oppression and then fight the victimization that was being meted out to her by a professor. And she also went the extra length to exonerate herself, to seek for justice. And this actually presents a very strong agency, very strong leadership and empowerment of the female character in for citation. In Swallow, we have Tolani and our friend Grace, that were due to the societal and oppression, economic oppression, workplace problems, and the issue of poverty, were able to, we're battling with trying to exact moral, trying to reflect moral upbringing of Tolani, and at the same time, face with the challenges of oppression from place of work, victimization from place, and then the problem of poverty. Then while we have Grace, Tolani eventually was able to actually resist going into trafficking, drug trafficking, while the other female character that is Grace was not able to do that. And then in Niger Christmas, it's a comedy. Niger Christmas is a comedy. Niger Christmas, Mama Agata happens to be the main female character in that, who was using a kind of emotional blackmail to make sure that, which is normal for traditionally, we know that women were supposed to be more concerned about their sons producing children for them. And that was actually the whole narrative of that thing. So she was able to use power as a mother to influence her son, to blackmail her son emotionally. That it is the one that gives me the first grandchild that will inherit the house, using the house as incentive for that. And then she was able to do that. While other female characters, like Ajike, still in the work towards the realization of the male character's aspiration in the film. For Anikulapo totally reflects the traditional gender stereotypes, because we saw the character of Arolake, who played a supportive role, because the story actually revolves around more or less around the main character, which is Saro. But Arolake playing a supportive role to the realization of the success of Saro. And then the Anikulapo majorly among the five things reflects, support the traditional patriarchal norms that some films were known for, like the early marriage of Arolake, victimization, are going through those normal, what we believe are normal of when the inability to have a child, and the inability to have a child. And then we have Ijogbon. Ijogbon also exhibits a little bit of agency and in the film, with Obi, who happens to be the only female among the gang, among the teenage group, in that the story actually revolves around. And then submitting that finally, what's the findings, the total finding, the main finding of the thing is that Kunle Apollions film, based on this the readings of these films, Kunle Apollions films to a point actually support traditional stereotypes. Why still pushes, the film still push towards the realization of patriarchal norms of portraying women in films. So, but this is in reality, this actually reflects the continuity of traditional while at the same time, that is the regressive way of portraying women. While at the same time, it also portrays, reflects progressive, because we know that in, especially in citation, the citation was able to actually fully, strongly challenge traditional stereotypes, while Anikulapo actually supports the traditional stereotype. So then finally, go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. So finally, the films actually with limitation, because actually so that I can also do, or anybody can actually, there is this perception, the impact of this perception on the society, we also actually need to look into that. Does it actually mean, we need to actually find out ourselves, does it actually mean that what people actually see in the films actually reflects on the way, because many studies have actually said that, but we can't go for that. This film did not actually capture that. Then another thing that this film did not, this study did not capture is that, okay, it was restricted to those recent films of Apolline. He had many films to his name, and he has many that, so it's left out those ones. So we wouldn't be able to know whether actually, since he started producing, whether we actually have things that actually support or fully support or fully challenge patriotic or stereotype, traditional stereotype in those of the children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salami, for that paper on analyzing the representation of women in Kunle Afolayan's films. Thank you so much. We'll take the questions at the end of all the presentations. Our next and final paper for this first panel is titled Gender, Money, Power, and Influence, King of Boys and Adire in Perspectives by Adamma Obiora from Chukwemeka Odumegu University and Anthony Uche from Federal Polytechnic, Opa. I think that these presenters are online, so the floor is now yours. You may take it away. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Adamma Obiora.
We can't see
and
you
on
yet.
Behalf of, oh.
Just a minute,
Sorry.
please. A second. Okay. You may go ahead.
Okay. I'm here to present the topic. There is a little confusion from what LSA reviewed the topic to. So with the organizers, we are still sticking to this topic till further notice. So we are working on influencing Nigerian women's perception and attitude towards her money, her power campaign through Nollywood's Love in Every Word fame. There is this anxiety that has been projected through the contemporary media, and the anxiety is about the fear that economically independent women try to disrupt the patriarchal economic dominance, where in a cultural setting, the male economic dominance is projected in the familiar and romantic relationships. So when we come across women being breadwinners, being economic self-sufficient, it tends to be a sort of disruption to the male economic dominance. And feminist advocacy platforms like the She Tank and Bella Neja come together to confront this anxiety that has been projected, or we can say perceived anxiety that have been projected out there in contemporary media. And they launched in 2024, they launched a campaign, Her Money, Her Power, that is set out to trigger a nationwide conversation on the relevance or importance of women being economically independent. That economic independence of women will definitely promote the women and also the society that they belong. Okay, and the two organizations, the She Tank and Bella Niger, conveyed this conversation through the social media, the entertainment, and the film inclusive. Okay, so and since the media is part of it, then movie is involved, because even when you, for those who have come across the campaign, the television campaign, you will see a lot of you see some Nollywood stars like Akindele being part of that commercial on the television. And the film has been, through studies, have been seen as a platform that we can actually have a challenge gender narratives, where the depictions of women can be debated, can be challenged or confronted. And Nollywood films have been criticized actually for being so male-gazed, or what we call the patriarchal, depicting a lot of stereotypes against women, where women are seen as being independent, sex objects, or even in roles, they are being seen as being a subjective or backgrounded instead of being foregrounded. But recently, some filmmakers are actually flipping the script, where we now have some movies like for Maria Egunpataki that actually confronted the issue of postpartum depression, women's mental health. We have King of Boys, we have Lionheart. Also, even in web series and TV series, we also have the narratives that are coming up actually debating. This has actually made Nollywood a platform whereby gender issues can be debated and can serve as a sort of influence to women when they go through the content of the films. So we may want, when we ask, why love in every word in the feminist discourse? Love in every word, when you see it, just like is a romantic film. But look through a gendered lens, one can see embedded feminism. One can see a sort of form of narrative, everyday lives that can be related to feminist values. Something that Dow 1996 referred to as a subtle depictions where characters live a feminist reality. So that is why looking at that, and looking at how we can say, since Money Her Power is a conversation that is nationwide, and the platform that this film is premiered and released on is also a platform where everybody, so far one has access to a smart TV, a smart device, one can access without actually subscribing to it. Then this study is actually set out to look at, to investigate the feminist ideologies that are relational to Nigerian women present in this film. So this film set out to actually add their ideological strategies employed in the film, Love in Every Word, that align with feminist discourse on economic empowerment. What extent does Love in Every Word film influence Nigerian women's perception and engagement with feminist economic campaigns like Her Money, Her Power? How have the embedded feminism and everyday feminist aesthetics shaped public discourse and cultural reception among Nigerian women? We looked at different conceptual frameworks, like we looked at embedded feminism and vis-a-vis love in every word theme. We also looked at feminist discourse in Nigeria, feminist depictions in Nollywood. Then this work is based on a theoretical framework, reception theory, of course, Stuart Hawes of 1973, that has the belief that the interpretations made from the content of film, the meanings and interpretation made from films are dependent on the social and cultural background of the audience. And in relation to this work, we looked at reception theory, where we look at the Nigerian women based on their cultural and social background, that the meaning or the interpretation they make out of the film, Love in Every Word movie, will actually influence their perception and their attitude towards the objective of our Money, Her Power campaign, which is all about economic empowerment. We relied on, we employed focus group discussion, and we looked at 6 states, though purposely 6 states, because the researchers are looking at states that we can actually have network with, where we can actually have someone on our behalf as a research assistant to organize a focus group. So we show 6 states from the 6 geopolitical zones, and come up with the Anambra, Ondo, Akwa Ibom, Gombe. And the focus group comprised of about 6 to 9 male participants in each group, ranging from age 19 to 57. They are both formal and informal occupation, and we do not really have stark illiterates. We have what we can call semi-illiterate and illiterate, all in that group. Then the presentation of data was done thematically based on what was discussed in the focus group, findings and discussions. The findings were discussed under the following themes. The participants were able to identify some feminist ideologies in the film, where they can actually come up with the statement like, oh, the protagonist, whose name is Shoma, does not really wait. She was economically stable for her to make her decisions, okay? And even when the roads were rough for her, she did not run towards what has been the stereotypical depictions where women run to men or sleep with men to make money. She was contented with the daily job rather than still running both her personal business and the professional work she's doing, because she has no finance to do it. And she went ahead, even when supposed lover was interested in actually loaning her money. And she said, no, instead of taking the money from a man, I rather go to the bank. So the discussants were able to raise, like, that's a financial literacy, that actually there are opportunities like going to the bank to loan money, to actually borrow money, than sleeping around to make money. Okay, and then they also identified the shift in some stereotypical depictions where there was a sociocultural tension, a violation of sociocultural tension, where it has been known culturally that men are the providers, men are the breadwinners. In a familiar and a romantic relationship, men should be the one paying the bills. Okay, but in this particular discussion, discussants raised the concern that there was nothing like that represented in Love in Every Word, where that
2 minutes more,
women,
please.
all the women.
Excuse me, 2 minutes more, please.
Okay. okay, all the women, there were more of women for granted in the movie. Then for the campaign objective, the engagement and influence, the younger women were able to actually see the content of Love in Every Word as something that is economically empowering, something that is affirming to them. Why those of the older women from 46 and to 57 were of the opinion that no, it seems as if the women want to become the men, and they are not really actually seeing the film as empowering. Then for the feminist discourse reception, they were able to relate that, Love in Every Word actually for granted women in all the areas of the film. Women were seen as independent, women were seen as professionals, successful professionals, women were seen as entrepreneurs, women were seen as investors. And they were like, that is all what feminism is all about. It's one of the things that feminism is all out there chasing, feminism is all out there chasing, that women actually are economically independent. So the analysis revealed that Nollywood are increasing engagement with feminist aesthetics and embedded feminism, presenting women's empowerment, not only as a political goal, but also as an everyday practice. And also, this has also shown that Bella Naija and She Tank belong to that feminist platform that we can call global, from the global and local, because they attach the objective of the campaign from the global perspective and relate it down to the local perspective. So the word global was on that she
Thank you.
the She Tank.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our 4 presenters for today. We really appreciate your time. So now we're going to open up for conversations because we have less than 30 minutes. I know that some of you have taken down questions and you are interested in asking them. So I would like to begin, if you don't mind, by asking Professor Asabe why she chose Mayan Mata first, who produced this television series. I've just realized now that it's a television series and not a film, a Kannywood film, as you put it originally. And is the producer of this Mayan Mata the proprietor of the NGO as well? I would please like for you to keep your response to 1 minute, if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
The producer of Mayan Mata, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks, Ellie.
Okay, he's a male. He's Abdul Ahmad. So the producer is male. The director too is male. And the protagonist, that's the character, the major character, who is the owner of the NGO Mayan Mata, is neither the producer nor the director, but an actress in the series. Have I answered your question?
The NGO part.
Yes, the NGO part. The NGO part, Layla, the owner of the NGO, which she named Mayan Mata, and by the movie's name too, the movie is also named Mayan Mata, Women of Substance, is an actress. That's Hadiza Gabon. She's neither the producer nor the director.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back to this question later on, but are there questions from the room, please, that would like to ask our presenters? Yes.
Thank you very much. To speak to this paper, I think up much you have a lot of work to do. And the reason being that now that the attention is on the Nollywood and Kannywood, you have to do a lot of work to bring us to speed with some of the things happening there. I was at Hilal, and there was a major panel held, sponsored by the women journalists. And all the talk was centered around women participation in media, in film, and all that. And we concluded that there was a lot not being spoken about. Maybe, like you said, because of the cultural, religious background to things of it. So I believe researchers of music, you have a lot to help us to interrogate some of their roles so that we begin to see, some of the big work that the women were doing. For instance, there are questions, do we have women film producers uplift? You need to know these things. Do we have women in film distribution, marketing? Need to know all this. The work we have done is a beautiful work, looking at what these producers have done briefly. The film talking about perception and talking about the reflection of women. Now things are changing. I agree with you. Because before you see this leading ladies playing very minor roles, and then the way they were being portrayed, things are changing. Now we see women coming from the position of strength, which is good. But we also need to focus their attention. They can do more than just being actresses. For instance, what most of the time, you see the reaction of some of these leading ladies. Some of them are stepping out, wanting to do things outside the roles of acting. And you see that there is misconception. They wanted to be influencers, they're also doing some negative things.
Thank you. So let's stop you, please, if you don't mind. Thank you, Professor Asabe. Would you like to respond to that?
Quickly about that. If I decide to talk about, yes, I agree with you that we have female directors, we have female producers, and we have female this and that. But it will be a topic for another paper, because I cannot just put it in this paper. But the thing is that I decided to choose Myanmar to change. Hausa society is a patriarchal society. So for a man to script this, to produce this, to direct this, then that things are changing. Ideally, I wouldn't be saying much. We say women are feminists. So if I take a script written by a woman, produced by a woman, directed by a woman, then I'm not addressing any challenge. And that was why I decided to look at a script by males and getting protagonists as women.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that response. We'll take just a minute, Elizabeth. We'll take some questions from the room and we'll get to you. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Professor Asabe, for your presentation. But I just said something concerning the question asked about having female producers. Recently, the Kano state government trained some female writers in Kano for them to go out there and, of course, write.
Which state, please?
Kano State.
Kano State.
Okay.
I think that was 2 months back. They trained only females as writers, script writers for the industry. Right. Then my question for her. I like the fact that they feel actually portray women as strong, women as actually dominating some specific spheres in the society and all that. Like, how realistic are these depictions? Looking at the makeup of the society, especially in terms of religion, how realistic are these depictions? Thank you.
Very, very realistic. There are women like that. Women who have stood up against patriarchy. So Kano and the northern part is no longer what people used to perceive it. Now women are talking. Years back, I wouldn't be on screen. I'll be secluded, but I travel everywhere. I stay in hotels. I do this. I bring people to order and other things. So the depictions and portrayals are very, very realistic, despite the challenges. They are realistic.
Thank you so much for that response. So we'll go online now to take Elizabeth's question before coming back here to listen. Yes, please. Elizabeth.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you for the stimulating section. I am glad we are starting on the right note. My question cut across all panelists, and this is because of the theme of the entire stream. So I'm wondering, what areas do you find continuity in the journey of women in filmmaking? And what areas have you found discontinuity in your research in terms of what women have achieved? Professor Sabe hinted at that in her response earlier, but I'm wondering if others have something to say considering their own research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I may just chip in, the title of this panel is the representation of women in Nollywood and Kannywood. So you might want to keep that in mind while responding. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, thank you. So would you like to respond to that, please?
Yes, thank you very much. For Kule, in reading of Kule Afolayan films, it was discovered that in continuity, we have the regressive. Whether we like it or not, we still have that, although he tried to push a bit towards progressive, that is in discontinuity with the patriarchal norms. But continuity, we still have that traditional stereotype of women representation in film. It reflects, some of the film actually reflect that, why very few of them actually totally, completely challenge the patriarchal or traditional stereotypes of women representation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Joseph, do you have a response to Elizabeth's question, and Adama as well?
Yes, this is Adama.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. For influencing women through Nollywood's Love in Every Word film, their perception about our Money, Her Power campaign, which is all about women economic empowerment. There is a shift from the patriarchal depictions that have always been out there in Nollywood. There is a disruption. This film that was read has women, 80% of women as characters. From even when you talk about the social roles of men in society, where Chioma has to be an investor in her boyfriend's life, not just one or two. She practically fed, sheltered, clothed the boyfriend. And when you talk about getting money, she was portrayed as one who is economic self-sufficient, who has that financial literacy, or not relying on men to achieve our goals, but know the right financial offices to go to when it comes to getting money. So
thank
there is
you
a
very
shift.
much. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Joseph, do you have a comment on that, please? Okay, can we move on to Ezinne's question, please, before the next person? There are two hands apart from Ezinne. Who's the next? Ezinne, please go on.
Okay, great. Well done to all the presenters. It was beautiful listening to you all. I'll just jump into Dr. Salami's thoughts before I go to Professor Sabe.
Can you be louder, please?
Okay, great. Can you hear me better?
Just a little bit.
Oh, how about now?
Yes, thanks.
Better. Okay, great. So, Dr. Salami, I think you hinted on this as something your paper didn't do, but I thought like it was going to be, it's something that should actually address this question that Elizabeth had just hinted. I asked about continuities and discontinuities. If you had chosen Afolayan's films from progressively rather than just focusing on new contemporary films. So if you've chosen, say, from his early phase of his career till more to contemporary times, and then you measure the continuities and discontinuities in his representations of women, that might have been able to help you determine or decipher what his stance is. Is he maintaining patriarchy, or is he is it going with contemporary changes in terms of representation of women? That might be something you want to think about. It's not a question. As for Professor Sabe, I like that you are adopting negofeminism. And the question I have is about I understand that Maya Mata is created by men throughout. I know women have been active producers, but there was no woman producer on this one, yes?
No, yes.
If it's all male in terms of behind the screen, writers, directors, producers, and all that, what I thought like adopting negofeminism would have been something. What came to mind was how are women negofeminism is just about women navigating, negotiating all of the hurdles that they are faced with and trying to make everything work in spite of the hurdles. Are women playing in the background? Are women having increasing control over their men and what the men think about them in society beyond what we see in the everyday society? Is that something that is playing out in how men, because I asked this question earlier, how is it that this representation of women is shifting even without women actually being part of the shift? So is it a thing of negofeminism in play where women are navigating around their husbands the way we know how to turn their heads around and help them tell the stories that we want to tell? So that's just
Thank you.
Yes, you see, I had that thought also because I imagined how a man would, but I decided to talk with the producer. I asked him why he had these strong characters, and he said, look, madam, let me tell you something. We have now started realizing that we cannot exist without women. And we have taken them as our partners. We turned against them before when they were trying to show us that they were feminists. But now they have bowed down, they agree with what we see, and they have a way of coercing us to believe in what they believe. And I think that really worked. And that's what is happening now. Now we teach our young girls, don't be confrontational. You want to travel for a conference? Yes. Don't tell him you must go. It is your future. As you have ways of negotiating with your husband, bring him in. And even the religion, Islam, accepts that when a woman is obedient to her husband, she does things the right way, he can give her the freedom to do anything. And that was why I brought this issue of Islamic feminism and other things. Islamic feminism is not unethical. It is there. And when you look at it, and when you look at the tenants, you see that it's similar to negotiation.
Thank you.
Once you negotiate, you get your way out. So these script writers are really learning from women, behind the scene women, who tell them, yes, the world is changing. So let's tow that path. And I believe that's what these writers are doing.
Thank you very much.
And they seem to be succeeding. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or interventions, reactions from the room? Please. Sorry? Anybody, any other panelists? Please go ahead. Thank you. Who is the person? I asked before, I don't know who, I can't see. Okay, because we took the last question from here, let's take one from the room, please. We'll come back to those of you online. Please bear with us. Thank you. Yes, madam, please go ahead.
I heard the word films based on education, entertainment, and the rest. Like the rest. I don't think it's actually going to this country. It's whatever you need to see. Then you're just to find out. There are others for us that are going to cover the bill and the rest of them. Then come to your permissive sampling. Why don't you use permissive sampling? Because to me, sampling is subjective and very useful sampling. Oftentimes, you may not be able to generalize your findings. It has so many disadvantages. So what is use yourself? Then
Your body sheets, who build your body sheets? Don't you think these things you build into those body sheets are subjective also? But it says you use your body sheets. And what type of body sheets did you actually use? Is it a open body, axial body, or a selective body? So which did you actually use? Again, this is 6 things for one paper.
5.
1 piece for one paper. 2 pieces to watch.
Maybe that may be suggestive. So yeah. Thank you. Do you have any comments? Do you want to respond to that? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Okay. But talking about the let me respond to this purposive, the purposive sampling. What I actually did was, you know, like I mentioned in my presentation, that it cuts across the different genres. Then looking at the most recent films, which happens to be those 5 most recent films, and then each of these films have different genres. And then I believe that there are themes which I were able to use to compare and contrast and the rest. And that was why I went for those films. And when you said yes, I made use of code table. Sorry, the code table, where I was able to pick some things based on watching of the film. After seeing the film, then I was able to actually bring out some things which I used to actually interpret the way that was presented in those films.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Olusegun has a question. Please go ahead. Thank you for your patience.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Olusegun. I'm calling from University of Wisconsin-Madison. So my question is directed to the organizers of this panel. So it's about the naming convention. So this part says representations of women in Nollywood and Kannywood films. So I'm more interested in, and I think I've asked that question over and over. So why the separation of Kannywood and Nollywood? So why do you think that naming convention is still needed? Is it because Nollywood is not still big enough to capture the Nigerian film industry? Why do you think Kannywood should still be, regarded in on its own as a film tradition? Because I think that is more towards, if we're talking about, the whole idea of Ngugi's idea of decolonization, I think we have to think towards these naming conventions. Nollywood is Nollywood, and that we can have different iteration of Nollywood. But Kannywood has always been sustained. We have Yollywood. People don't really talk about Yollywood as in the Yoruba film industry. Yeah, so Yollywood. So why the continuous usage of Kannywood to talk about Kano film industry when Nollywood is enough to capture the Nigerian film industry? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olusegun, for your question. You've asked a very important question and made even more important remarks on this issue, which is one of the biggest controversies of filmmakers and all the film practitioners in this country. I will begin my response to that by saying, who says Nollywood is representative of all the film industries in the country? When we put out our call for this stream, we said Nigerian film industries in the plural, because we recognize that some people actually distance themselves from Nollywood. Nollywood being the understanding of the practice of filmmakers in Southwest Nigeria, particularly Lagos. And because we didn't want to be offensive to anyone, we wanted to be inclusive and be open so that as many practitioners and as many scholars who are working around across the country as possible would respond to our paper. And so we titled this particular panel based on the abstracts that we received, not because we wanted to be divisive in any sense, but because we received papers from scholars who are reflecting on the practices of filmmaking in the North and people who are doing similar things in the South. Having said that, I know that scholars have tried also to bring some kind of meaning making to the whole discourse around Nollywood and its naming, but that's not a conversation that we can actually finish within this panel. but I am deeply grateful to you for bringing it up because it's something that we have to continue thinking about as we carry out our work. I don't know if there are any other questions, but I would like to engage with you further on and later on this issue. Olusegun, thanks. Elizabeth or Ezinne, do you have a comment on this point? Briefly, please. Yes. Thanks, Ezinne.
I think you answered clearly what our aim or objective was and why we're using both of them at the same time. But also, I think what I may want to add is that there's always been this argument that Kannywood was named before Nollywood. So the name Kannywood started existing long before Nollywood came in. And so it will be unfair that they are still insisting, scholars and practitioners in Kannywood are still insisting they want to be identified as Kannywood for us to force them into marriage. It's more like an eclipse of an identity for us anyways, but Angoli's answer is just apt.
Thank you, Ezinne. Do you know, once I was attending a conference in Frankfurt and there was a Nigerian who introduced himself as an off-Nollywood filmmaker. What should we make of that, Olusegun? He said he's off Nollywood.
He's not distancing himself.
So he doesn't recognize himself as Nollywood, but he sort of recognizes himself as Nollywood. So he was quite ambivalent about where he belonged, actually. Anyway, is there any other question from the room, please? I have one final one because we have 4 more minutes to the end of our panel. And interestingly, it has to do with part of what Olusegun asked. So to all the panelists here, what do you think are the points of connection as well as disconnection between the filmmaking practices in Nollywood and Kannywood? I know that there are lots of things that have been debated before, but I would like to hear your thoughts on how women are represented in Nollywood and in Kannywood, but also on the broader filmmaking practices of these two big industries, so to speak. Can I please start with the lady on my left, and then I'll move on to those of you online. Thank you.
Well, you said the question is the connection.
Yes, connections and disconnections between Nollywood and
Kannywood. Well, I actually don't see much disconnection except by name, and then the cultural and the traditional norms of the two separate parts actually is affecting the way their films are being presented or the way they present the gender representation in their films. That is what I noticed. For the South, the Nollywood, you'll see that Yoruba, the traditional Yoruba setting, the historical Yoruba ways of presenting women in films, and you see that it is still there. And for the Northern, although I can't speak much, but I actually fortunately, I have a little bit of relationship with the North too. So what I see is that, you know, in the North, they have been able to blend tradition and religion together. And this actually affects the way they present gender representation in the media. While in the South, not that we are not also religious here in the South, but there is a little bit of separation from religion and our traditional the ways of doing things. So that is the only, well, the connection is still there, but it's much of, that is the main difference between for the Kannywood and between the Kannywood and the Nollywood.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Professor Asabe, do you have a comment on that, please? We have a minute.
No comment so far. My network went off. I had to join with my phone now.
All right, that's fine. So, thank you. Adama, do you have any comments? Thank you. Adama, do you have any comment on the connections and disconnections between Nollywood and
Yes,
Kannywood?
I don't really, to me, I see, I don't know, ideally, I think it's me. Hello? Can you hear
yes,
me?
yes, now we
Wow.
can. We can hear you now. Please go on.
I said to me, okay. To me, I see a tree with branches, because if you are also remember the one beside, very close to me, the Asaba wood, which is predominantly about the Igbos. Okay, they have the Yoli wood there too. So to me, I think it's about the scholars coming together to actually agree on the way forward. So that when we agree, then we take it from there. But when certain people say, oh, we don't want to be associated with this, I think that also should be respected.
Yeah.
My
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Joseph, do you have any comments on this, please, before we round off the session? Joseph is nowhere to be found. All right, ladies and gentlemen, shall we thank our panelists for today, please? Thank you so much. Thank you very much to those of you who joined us online. We've come to the end of the first of our 4 panels on the journey through time evolution of women in the Nigerian film industry's stream. Please join us again tomorrow at 11 as per our conference program. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.